My name is Olivia Thorne, and I never expected to be sitting in this sterile law office, watching my siblings divide up our father's fortune like vultures fighting over prey. The leather chair beneath me felt too stiff, too formal, as Mr. Harrison, our family lawyer, adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses and began reading Dad's will. To my eldest son, Marcus Thorne, I leave my controlling shares in Thorne Industries, valued at approximately $42 million. Marcus's smirk was barely concealed as he lounged in his Italian suit, already mentally spending his inheritance. He'd always been Dad's golden child, groomed from birth to take over the family business. To my daughter Diana Thorne, I leave my real estate portfolio, including properties in Manhattan, Miami, and Los Angeles, with a total estimated value of $38 million. Diana's perfectly manicured fingers drummed against the mahogany table, her expression one of calculated satisfaction. She'd spent years cultivating the image of the perfect daughter, always knowing exactly what to say and do to stay in Dad's good graces. Then Mr. Harrison cleared his throat, glancing at me with what almost looked like pity. And to my youngest daughter, Olivia Thorne, I leave the old family farm in Montana, including all structures and the surrounding 300 acres. The silence that followed was deafening, before being broken by Marcus's sharp laugh. The farm? That worthless piece of dirt Dad could never sell. Oh, this is perfect. Diana's lips curled into a cruel smile. Well, it's fitting, isn't it? Olivia always did prefer playing in the dirt to learning how to run a real business. I sat there, my face burning but refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing me cry. The farm had been Grandpa's pride and joy before he passed, but Dad had always seen it as an embarrassment, a reminder of our family's humble beginnings before he built his empire. There must be some mistake, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Dad always said he'd treat us equally. Mr. Harrison shook his head. I'm afraid not, Miss Thorne. The will is quite clear. The farm is your entire inheritance. Marcus stood, straightening his tie with an exaggerated gesture. Don't worry, little sister. If you need money, you can always sell the farm. Though I doubt anyone would pay more than a few thousand for that wasteland. Diana gathered her designer purse, not even trying to hide her amusement. Maybe you can grow organic vegetables or whatever it is farmers do these days. It's very quaint. I watched them leave, their laughter echoing down the hallway. Mr. Harrison remained behind, shuffling papers with uncomfortable precision. Miss Thorne, he said finally, there is one more thing. Your grandfather left a letter to be delivered to whoever inherited the farm. Your father never opened it. He handed me a weathered envelope, yellowed with age. The paper felt delicate in my hands, Grandpa's distinctive handwriting spelling out to the heir of Thorne Farm across the front. That evening, I sat in my small apartment, the letter unopened on my coffee table. Unlike my siblings with their penthouses and mansion, I'd always lived modestly, working as an environmental scientist despite my family's constant criticism about wasting my potential. Finally, with trembling fingers, I broke the seal and began to read. My dearest grandchild, if you're reading this, you've inherited the farm that has been in our family for 4 generations. Your father never understood its true value, seeing only what was on the surface. But you, my heir, must look deeper. The farm holds secrets that could change everything. In my study, behind the old painting of the mountain range, you'll find a safe. The combination is the date I first brought you to the farm. Inside is everything you need to know. Trust no one with this information until you understand its full implications. The land holds more value than your father ever imagined, but timing is everything. With love and faith, Grandpa Thomas. I stared at the letter, my heart pounding. Grandpa had always been different from Dad, more interested in the land than in money and status. He'd spent countless hours with me on the farm when I was young, teaching me about the soil, the wildlife, and what he called the secrets beneath our feet. The next morning, I packed my car and began the long drive to Montana. My siblings might think they'd won, laughing all the way to their respective banks, but something in Grandpa's letter stirred a memory of him standing in his study, telling me that sometimes the greatest treasures are the ones others are too blind to see. The farm looked exactly as I remembered it, though perhaps a bit more weathered. The main house, a sturdy two-story structure built by my great-grandfather, stood proud against the Montana sky. The barn, though its red paint was fading, remained as solid as ever. As I unlocked the front door, dust motes danced in the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. Everything was covered in sheets, preserved like a time capsule since Grandpa's death 5 years ago. I made my way to his study, my footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. The painting he mentioned still hung where it always had, a majestic view of the mountain range that bordered the property. With careful hands, I lifted it from the wall, revealing the safe behind it. The combination. I closed my eyes, thinking back, of course, July 15, 1998. The first time Grandpa brought me to the farm. I was 7 years old, and he'd spent the entire day showing me every inch of the property, his eyes twinkling as if he knew something wonderful that no one else did. The safe opened with a soft click. Inside, I found a thick folder filled with geological surveys, maps, and what appeared to be government correspondence dating back decades. As I began to read, my hands started shaking. Grandpa had known something that would have changed everything, something that would make Marcus and Diana's inheritance look like pocket change. But he had kept it secret, waiting for the right moment, the right person. That night, as I sat in Grandpa's old leather chair, surrounded by his documents, I realized why he had arranged for this letter to reach me. It wasn't just about the money. It was about proving that sometimes the things others dismiss as worthless hold the greatest value. I pulled out my phone and made a call to an old colleague from my environmental science days. "Hey Jack, it's Olivia. I need your expertise on something. How soon can you come to Montana?" As I waited for his reply, I looked out the window at the vast expanse of land that was now mine. My siblings thought they had won everything of value, but they had no idea what was really beneath their feet. The game was just beginning, and for once, I held all the cards. Jack arrived 3 days later, his beat-up Jeep kicking up dust as it rolled down the long driveway. I hadn't seen him since we worked together on a groundwater study 2 years ago, but he was still the same. Weathered baseball cap, perpetual stubble, and the sharp intelligence in his eyes that had made him one of the most respected geological surveyors in the country. "This better be good, Liv," he said, hauling his equipment from the back of his Jeep. I canceled 3 surveys to come out here. I handed him Grandpa's folder. "Take a look at these." He flipped through the documents, his expression changing from mild interest to complete shock. "Holy shit, Olivia. Are these readings accurate?" I nodded. Grandpa did those surveys himself. He was thorough. You know how he was about documentation. "Yeah, but this is unprecedented." Jack spread the maps across the hood of his Jeep. "If these mineral deposits are really here, And at these concentrations, that's why I called you. I need current readings, official documentation, something nobody can dispute. For the next week, Jack and I worked from sunrise to sunset, taking soil samples, running tests, and mapping every inch of the property. Each new reading confirmed what Grandpa had discovered years ago. Beneath the seemingly worthless farm lay one of the largest rare earth mineral deposits ever found in North America. These elements, Jack explained one evening as we reviewed the data, they're essential for everything from smartphones to electric vehicles to military technology. China currently controls about 85% of the global supply. A domestic source like this, it's a game changer. I thought about Marcus and Diana, probably celebrating their inheritance in their luxury penthouses. How much are we talking about, Jack? In terms of value? He ran some calculations on his laptop. Conservative estimate? With current market prices and the concentration levels we're seeing, probably around $3 billion. Could be more depending on how deep the deposits go. 3 billion. The number hit me like a physical force. It was nearly 40 times what Marcus and Diana had inherited combined. But I knew it wasn't just about the money. These minerals were crucial for the green technology sector I'd spent my career working in. This discovery could reshape the entire industry. That night, unable to sleep, I found myself in Grandpa's study again. A new document had arrived by courier. The results of our official geological survey. As I read through it, my phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Hey, little sis, heard you're actually living at that dump. Having fun playing farmer?" I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and began researching mineral rights lawyers. I needed someone who could help me navigate what was coming. Someone who wouldn't be intimidated by the Thorne family name. I found her in Catherine Martinez, a sharp-minded attorney known for handling major mining rights cases. When I walked into her office in downtown Denver the next week, she was already reviewing the preliminary documents I'd sent. "Miss Thorne," she said, gesturing for me to sit, "these findings are extraordinary, but I have to ask, why hasn't this been discovered before? Your family has owned this land for generations." I explained about Grandpa's secret surveys, his careful documentation, his decision to wait. He knew my father would probably sell to the highest bidder without considering the environmental impact. Dad was always about quick profits. Catherine nodded thoughtfully. "Smart man, your grandfather. He's created quite an opportunity here." But she held up a cautioning finger. "We need to move carefully. Once this gets out, every major mining company in the world will be fighting for rights to this deposit." "I don't want to sell," I said firmly. "I want to develop it responsibly, sustainably. Use it to advance green technology." "That's admirable, but you'll need significant capital to do that. The infrastructure alone would cost hundreds of millions." I smiled. "Actually, I have an idea about that. Have you heard of Maxwell Industries?" Catherine raised an eyebrow. "The technology company?" "Of course. They're one of the largest manufacturers of electric vehicle components in the country. They've been desperately searching for a reliable rare earth mineral supply. Their CEO, James Maxwell, is giving a speech at a green technology conference in Seattle next week. I already booked my ticket." "Ambitious," Catherine said, a note of approval in her voice. "But what about your siblings? Once they find out about this, they will try to challenge the inheritance." I finished. "I know. That's why I need you to make sure everything is airtight. I want all the mineral rights secured in my name before they even know what's happening." Over the next few days, Catherine and her team worked tirelessly to file all the necessary paperwork. Meanwhile, I prepared for the conference, reviewing Maxwell Industries' financial reports and sustainable mining practices. The morning I was supposed to leave for Seattle, Diana showed up unannounced at the farm. She stepped out of her Mercedes, as if afraid the dirt might somehow leap up and stain her designer boots. "Olivia, darling," she said, her voice dripping with false concern. "We're worried about you, living out here all alone. Why don't you come back to New York? I'm sure we can find you a nice little job in one of Daddy's old companies." I met her condescending smile with one of my own. "I'm good, thanks. The farm keeps me busy." She glanced around with barely concealed disgust. "Yes, I can see that. Though I can't imagine what could possibly keep you occupied in this wasteland. Unless," her eyes narrowed slightly, "there's something you're not telling us." "Just enjoying the simple life," I said blandly. "You know me, always preferred dirt to board rooms." Diana didn't look convinced, but she also couldn't imagine her little sister being capable of anything significant. "Well, if you change your mind, Marcus and I were thinking of offering you a position, something suitable for your abilities." After she left, I watched her car disappear down the driveway, knowing it wouldn't be long before they realized what they'd given up. But by then, it would be too late. The Seattle Conference Center was packed with industry leaders and investors. James Maxwell's keynote speech focused on the challenges of sourcing rare earth minerals ethically and sustainably. When he opened the floor for questions, I raised my hand. "Mr. Maxwell," I said, standing up, "what if I told you there was a way to secure a domestic supply of all the minerals you need, mined with complete environmental oversight?" He looked intrigued. "I'd say that sounds too good to be true, Miss Thorne, Olivia Thorne, and I can prove it." The private meeting afterward lasted 3 hours. By the end, James Maxwell had cleared his schedule for the next week to visit the farm personally. "This could revolutionize the entire industry," he said, studying our survey results. "But why come to us? Any mining company would pay billions for these rights." "Because you're the only major tech company with a proven track record of environmental responsibility," I replied. "I don't just want to profit from this discovery. I want to show that resource extraction and environmental protection can go hand in hand." Maxwell nodded slowly. "What are you proposing?" "A joint venture. Maxwell Industries provides the capital and infrastructure. My company handles the extraction and oversees environmental compliance. We split the profits 5,050. Your company?" I smiled. "Thorne Environmental Resources. I'm incorporating it next week." As I flew back to Montana, I knew the real challenges were just beginning. Diana's visit had made it clear they were getting suspicious. But I had something they never expected. Not just a valuable discovery, but a vision for how to use it. The next morning, I received 2 emails. The first was from James Maxwell's legal team with a preliminary contract for our joint venture. The second was from Marcus, demanding a family meeting to discuss the farm's future. Perfect timing. I called Catherine. "How soon can you have all the mineral rights secured?" "Give me 48 hours, she replied. "You expecting trouble?" I thought about Marcus's aggressive business tactics, Diana's manipulative schemes. Oh yes, but this time, I'm ready for them. Looking out over the farm, my farm, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Somewhere, I knew Grandpa was smiling. He'd understood something my father never did. True value isn't just about money, it's about what you do with it. The game was entering its final phase, and my siblings were about to learn that sometimes the biggest mistakes come from underestimating what's right under your feet. The Thorne Industries boardroom hadn't changed since I was a child. The same imposing mahogany table, the same floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, the same air of power and privilege. But this time, as I walked in carrying my briefcase, something was different. I was different. Marcus and Diana were already there, along with their respective lawyers. My brother sat at the head of the table, exactly where our father used to sit, his expression a mixture of annoyance and condescension. "Finally decided to show up, little sister?" he said, checking his Rolex. "Some of us have real businesses to run." I took my seat calmly, Catherine Martinez settling into the chair beside me. Diana's eyes narrowed at the sight of the prominent lawyer. "Why did you bring an attorney, Olivia?" she asked, her voice sickly sweet. "This is just a family discussion about your future." "Is it?" I opened my briefcase. "Because your email mentioned serious concerns about the farm's viability and exploring alternative arrangements." Marcus leaned forward, steepling his fingers. "Look, Olivia, let's be direct. That farm is a liability. Property taxes, maintenance costs. You can't afford to keep it running. We're willing to buy it from you. Give you a fair price." "Fair?" I raised an eyebrow. "And what would you consider fair?" "Given the current real estate market in that area," Diana interjected, "we're prepared to offer you $250,000. That's generous, considering it's practically worthless." I heard Catherine stifle a small laugh beside me. "Funny you should mention worth," I said, pulling out a folder. "I've recently had the property assessed." Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "That land hasn't been profitable for decades. Even Dad couldn't find a use for it. Dad never looked deep enough. I started distributing copies of the geological survey, but Grandpa did." The room fell silent as they began reading. I watched their faces change. Confusion, disbelief, then dawning comprehension. Diana's perfectly manicured fingers trembled slightly as she turned the pages. This can't be right," Marcus stammered, his arrogant facade cracking. "Oh, it's right," I confirmed. "The survey's been verified by 3 independent firms. One of the largest rare earth mineral deposits in North America, right under that worthless farm you were so kind to let me have." Diana's lawyer whispered something in her ear. Her face had gone pale. "Current market value of the minerals?" I continued, enjoying every moment. "Approximately $3 billion. Though that number could go up, given increasing demand in the tech sector." Marcus shot to his feet. "This is our family's land. You can't just." "Actually, I can." I cut him off. "Catherine, would you mind explaining?" Catherine smiled, pulling out her own documentation. "The mineral rights have been legally secured in Miss Thorne's name. Furthermore, she has already entered into a joint venture agreement with Maxwell Industries for sustainable extraction and processing of the deposits." Maxwell Industries. Diana's voice was barely a whisper. She knew what everyone in the industry knew, that James Maxwell's company was revolutionizing green technology. "A 50-50 partnership," I confirmed. "The contracts were signed yesterday. We break ground next month." Marcus slammed his hand on the table. "This is ridiculous. We're the ones who inherited the real business, the real assets." I stood slowly, placing my hands on the table. "No, Marcus. You inherited what Dad thought was valuable. But Grandpa," I smiled, remembering his twinkling eyes, his quiet wisdom. "Grandpa knew the truth. He knew that real value isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's right under your feet, waiting for the right person to discover it. "We'll challenge this," Diana threatened, but her voice lacked conviction. "The will?" "The will is quite clear," Catherine interjected. "The farm and all its rights were left to Olivia. Unless you're suggesting your father didn't know what he was doing when he wrote it? That shut them up. Challenging the will would mean admitting our father had made a mistake, something their egos wouldn't allow." I gathered my papers, tucking them back into my briefcase. "Now, if we're done here, I have a meeting with the Environmental Impact Assessment Team. Unlike some people, I believe in developing resources responsibly." As I turned to leave, Marcus called out, his voice strained. "Wait, maybe we can work something out. A family partnership." I paused at the door, thinking about all the years of dismissal, of condescension, of being treated as less than. You know what the funny thing is? If you had treated me like a real sister all these years, I might have considered it. But you made your choice a long time ago. "What's that supposed to mean?" Diana demanded. "It means you taught me an important lesson. You showed me that sometimes the people who underestimate you the most are the ones who know you the least." I walked out, leaving them with the knowledge that their worthless sister now controlled a resource worth more than their combined inheritance. The next few months passed in a whirlwind of activity. The joint venture with Maxwell Industries proceeded exactly as planned. We developed new extraction techniques that minimized environmental impact, created hundreds of local jobs, and established a foundation to support sustainable technology research. Marcus tried to compete, directing Thorne Industries into mineral exploration, but his aggressive methods and lack of environmental concern led to public backlash. Diana attempted to manipulate her way onto our board of directors through proxy shareholders, but Catherine's legal work was impeccable. 1 year later, I stood on a hill overlooking the farm. The land had changed. Carefully planned extraction sites dotted the landscape, but we'd managed to preserve most of the natural beauty. Solar panels glinted in the distance, powering our operations. A research center was under construction, where scientists would work on developing new applications for the minerals we extracted. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Thorne Environmental Resources named industry leader in sustainable mining practices. Below it was another headline. Thorne Industries stock falls amid environmental concerns. I smiled, remembering something Grandpa once told me. The earth holds many treasures, Olivia, but the greatest ones are found by those who respect her enough to look carefully. He had been right about so many things. About the minerals, about the importance of patience, about waiting for the right moment. But most importantly, he had been right about me. That evening, I sat in his old study, now renovated but still maintaining its character. The painting of the mountain range hung in its original place, though the safe behind it was now empty. On my desk sat a framed photo of Grandpa and me from that first day on the farm, both of us smiling, covered in dirt from exploring the property. I picked up the latest contract from Maxwell Industries, an expansion of our partnership to develop new recycling technologies for rare earth minerals. Next to it was an invitation to speak at a global sustainability conference about our innovative mining practices. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Jack, now the head of our geological survey team. "You're not going to believe the new readings we got from the north section," he said excitedly. "The deposits go deeper than we thought. This could double our current estimates." I nodded, but my mind was already thinking beyond the numbers. Have the research team focus on recycling methods first. I want us to prove that profit and environmental responsibility can go hand in hand. After Jack left, I walked out onto the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. In the distance, I could see the lights of our operation coming on, a testament to what can be built when you combine vision with respect for the land. My siblings had gotten what they wanted: the flashy titles, the immediate wealth, the supposed prestige. But I had gotten something far more valuable: the chance to prove that true success isn't just about what you own, but what you choose to do with it. The farm that everyone had dismissed as worthless had become a symbol of innovation and sustainable progress. And I, the sister they had underestimated, had become someone even they couldn't ignore. But the real victory wasn't in proving them wrong. It was in proving Grandpa right. The next morning, I received an email from Diana. The subject line read, "We should talk." I marked it as read and turned my attention to the environmental impact report for our new recycling facility. Some bridges, once burned, aren't worth rebuilding. Some lessons, once learned, don't need repeating. I had built something they never imagined possible, not because I needed their approval, but because I had finally stopped seeking it. The worthless farm had given me something priceless: the knowledge that true value isn't in what others think of you, but in what you know you can achieve. And that was worth more than any inheritance they could have offered.